Going back, the company started about 31 years ago. And I just was working for a big company, Gillette company. I was the director of chemical and materials research. And for a couple of years before I left, I've been thinking about doing something on my own. And I decided, with my wife's encouragement, saying that change is good. And if you have a passion for something, wanting to be an entrepreneur, you should try it out. So I decided to leave with no particular plan, no particular backing. I just knew that what I had been doing at Gillette is useful for many industrial applications. And I had an excellent relationship with the Gillette management, because I joined Gillette in '68, where not one non-European was hired by Gillette until that point. The world has changed so much for the better. So my relationship with Gillette management was so good that when they heard that I wanted to leave, they told me that the grass always looks greener. I had actually a meeting with the CEO, but he said that entrepreneurship is something that if you are bugged by it, you should do it. So I had a great deal of help from them in the sense of not leaving with acrimony, but rather with a very good feeling. Good luck, let's help you in any way we can. That was their attitude. So I started the early years where I tried to help customers, industrial customers, with improving their product so they will have an advantage in the marketplace. And the whole business, my premise was that today's materials are not adequate to meet the needs of tomorrow's machines, devices, applications. So I didn't want to go into business doing something for cheaper than other people can do. I always went into business then knowing that I want to work on the next generation requirements that other companies may not be able to do. So taking laboratory inventions to the production floor was my forte at Gillette. I had a couple of inventions there, the Platinum Plus blade, my invention. Also demonstrating that it can be made one blade at a time to millions of blades at a time, and so on. So it gave me the confidence that I was one of those people that didn't do just R&D, but could take it to the production floor. So of course I had no idea I had any business acumen, but slowly the simple principle of living within your means, doing the best you can for your customer, and never being defensive, always accepting responsibility. And I guess that's a trait of personality. These things can be taught or not, I don't know. But I was extremely cooperative with my customers. I was their team member, trying to help them succeed. And if they made some money, I wanted a little part of that. And that was the whole business. So we started with titanium nitride coating, for example, in those days, in 1982 this is, with the substrate held at low temperatures so that the strength and toughness of steels and other things, which normally decay as you raise the temperature, remained strong and yet had a surface. So the Surmet name comes from surface metallurgy, as well as my name, which is Suri, and my wife was smart to pick that name. In fact, that name, it seems, it's also ceramic metals. So that name is something that when I say it to people, they think they've heard of the company. It's a name like that, which is rather interesting. So that's how it started. Slowly we found a niche in the semiconductor process equipment, like Applied Materials, Fujitsu, Intel, companies like that. And we ended up developing an electrostatic clamp early than anybody, which holds the silicon wafer, allows for robotic movement of the silicon wafer. And it's not the clamping of the wafer and holding it against gravity upside down, but it's also declamping it when necessary, and that's the difficulty. Because you got to declamp it in milliseconds. You can clamp things by electrostatic floors, but getting it off is the tough part. So by some design, we were able to make this. This is how we got into ceramics. Is the E-clamp is made out of ceramic with a metal electrode and two pieces bonded together, dielectric piece and insulator piece. And this became a nice business, and nobody else could make it. and we were able to charge a good money. And of course, big companies, they try to buy it as cheaply as possible and mark it up as highly as possible. So this is what was happening. Then because of my interest in ceramics, when the 2000 tech bubble burst and things went awry, 2001, the Al-Qaeda attack and all that, there was a period of, I became restless and I thought we should do something, and opportunity came along. Raytheon was trying to repackage some of the work they had done in the 80s, and the ALON, the aluminum oxynitride spinel, was one of those items that I was able to buy from them with a certain arrangement of, 10-year, this, that. They get a portion of my company and all that kind of thing. So that's how we came into the aluminum oxynitride ceramic, which was shown to be a laboratory development. They could make small pieces which were transparent, had cubic structure. So starting with a powder, you ended up with a material that looked crystal clear, high strength, able to stop bullets, 50 caliber bullets, and destroy the bullets in the process of it absorbing much of the shock of that hit. At half the weight and half the thickness, it can do the job of glass laminates. So it has, the main thing against it is simply that bigger pieces are difficult to make, yields are lower. So over the last 10 years, what Surmet has been able to do is using our profits from the semiconductor business, reinvesting that, as well as getting a lot of help from the US Department of Defense, giving us a variety of contracts to develop not only large pieces of this ALON material for windows, reconnaissance applications, but also missile domes and other such items which are very precision oriented. So in 2002, 2003, when I acquired this, I also decided that since it's a completely new material, we need to really have a vertical integration. We can't just make the material and ask somebody to buy it or have it processed or have it fabricated by somebody else. People are generally reluctant to try new things. So we took up upon ourselves to start with synthesis of the powder to the fabrication of the component. So we have a facility in Buffalo, New York, where we synthesize the powder. And we, of course, are in Burlington, Massachusetts headquarters. We have a variety of fabrication facilities there to make the armor. And we also have a facility in Marietta, California, where there were a bunch of fabrication specialists around whom we built this Surmet Precision Optics division. So gradually, we've been able to make larger and larger parts, and also with much higher yield, bring the cost down, and really take the laboratory invention to the production floor. So now we have applications in helicopters and few other applications. Even armored vehicles are partly being supplied by us. The potential is very high. The cost is also high. The value proposition comes in when the cost goes down, but that can only happen with large volume. So chicken or the egg situation, and gradually, keeping things under control, only doing those things, being able to say no to many applications. We are approached by many of the handheld device companies about making millions of little pieces of ALON for their windows and so forth. We try to be extremely careful about those, mainly because it's only the business that you can do that you should approach. It's a very small company. We have about 50 people now. Also, I can tell you that because of the profitable nature of the semiconductor business and the money that was coming in, we were spending it because we had the money. And I realized that we were never going to make progress in the ceramics business until we knew how to control costs of our expenses. The problem with money is when you have it, you spend it. And when you don't have it is a very good thing, I believe. That's when innovation kicks in. Necessity is the mother of invention. So by selling my semiconductor division in 2007, which was the goose that laid the golden egg, I took thing off the table, the money spigot off the table, and it made us focus on the ceramics within the money that we do have, and therefore I think we made the progress. So I'm one of those that believes in waste not, want not, live within your means. So the amazing thing about our company, which most people don't believe, is that we know to have a credit line, never missed a payroll in the last 31 years, don't have any investors, and don't have any debt except to the company itself or me, the founder. And we are a solid company. There is no fear of us going out of business because debt is what usually gets people down. We have no legal liability. Any dispute that arise, I negotiate it in an amicable fashion. If I made a mistake, I pay for it, which is only fair. And there haven't been any such big situations ever. So I'm very proud of our record, and I look forward to a tremendous future, actually, because we are seeing the coming to fruition of all of our efforts in the way that we proceed with this. The aluminum oxynitride is a version of aluminum oxide, where by adding the nitrogen to the lattice structure, you change it from rhombohedral aluminum oxide to cubic structure, which is isotropic. And when you put together this material from powder to a fully dense state by heat treatment and pressure and temperature, you end up with a piece of material that is visible, transparently visible through the material into the mid-IR range, which is from visible to about 5 microns wavelength. So this process of introducing the nitrogen can be done by a variety of processes. You can mix aluminum oxide and aluminum nitride and cook it together, sinter it together, called reaction sintering. You can also start with aluminum oxide and do carbothermal reduction, and then the aluminum nitride forms and reacts with excess aluminum oxide, a variety of technicalities. So the making of the powder is a critical step, and we don't sell the powder to anybody because the powder is where the key to the whole thing lies. And we process the powder to the right size, to the right other properties, the slurry that is made from it. All of those things are very carefully controlled. So from that powder you make a green body, and the green body can be made in a variety of ways. And that is the beauty of starting with a powder material. And you can slip cast it, you can mold it, you can injection mold it, you can tape cast it, you can do a variety of things. But to make these larger pieces that we are onto, you have to use a mold, a flexible rubber kind of mold, and then cold isostatically press it so that you get closer proximity of the powders to each other. And then, because remember that at the end of the day, you got to eliminate all the powders have to fuse together to become 100% dense. Because even the slightest angstrom size pores in it are visible as haze. To be water clear, you need to have 100% density. And that's what we are able to accomplish. You have to have very careful debinderizing process where you take the powder, put it in a slurry with some binders, and then you spray dry the powder, because powder itself is difficult to pour into molds and stuff. So spray drying is a process that's used in pharmaceutical industry, many other industries, particularly in ceramic industry, where you make that fluffy powder into a manageable shape so that it pours like sugar or salt. And we pour it into molds and then press it into the shape we want. And then we go through the debinderizing to eliminate the binders that were there. And that happens at a fairly low temperature, 500, 600 degrees centigrade. By that time, it's mostly gone. The sintering, which is fusing up these powders to each other, doesn't happen till we reach higher temperatures, like 1000 degrees, 1200 degrees centigrade. And then beyond that is when it fuses. During that process, there is a lot of shrinkage. And that shrinkage is the most difficult thing to manage, in making big parts of ceramics, no matter what ceramic it is, whether it's transparent or not. Even alumina is hard to make beyond a certain size. So much of the challenges that we have seen are to do, we have a double challenge in the sense we not only have to have the material intact, without cracks, without breaking apart, but also we have to have transparency. We can't have a little bit of haze here, it's okay on this side. No, the whole piece has to be totally crystal clear. To do that, you need uniform heat distribution, uniform cooling when it happens, slow cooling, slow heating, all of those things so that we don't put unnecessary stress. So since ceramics by nature are very brittle materials and the thermal expansion coefficient is not zero, like many materials can be, like silicon carbide, quartz, these things have very low thermal expansion coefficient, so you can heat it up and cool it down. They don't break easily. But Alon, for example, is not known for its tremendous thermal shock resistance. So if you change the temperature even by a few degrees from one side to the other, the whole thing would crack. So those are the challenges we have been facing. But with the very good people, ceramists we have on our staff, Mohan, to mention one, Sriram is another one. Sriram comes from Rutgers, PhD. Mohan is from Alfred University. And we have several others who have helped to make the process. We have engineers like Mark Smith, who is good at anything you give him. And with people like that, we are made the progress surprisingly, because the parts that we are now making are about 20 inches by 36 inches by 1 inch thick, let's say. A piece of ceramic of that size is extremely difficult to make no matter what it is. So to keep it transparent, not only that, because transparency with uniform refractive index is what is needed for reconnaissance windows. Some of those drones which might have been watching Mr. the bad guy up in Pakistan, to watch him pace up and down on his, the name escapes me, but you know the guy I'm talking about. Maybe the best that I don't mention his name. So in order to see the picture clearly, for the sensor to see the picture very clearly at a distance and at night with the reconnaissance window, you need refractive index uniformity. So otherwise you'll have waviness, like you're looking through water that's moving. That also is a tremendous challenge. So you not only have to have 100% density, you have to have also refractive index uniformity, and you have to have the piece intact after the thing is over. So our next goal is to go to a 36 inch by 36 inch piece. That's what we've got a development contract under the thing called Title III program by the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and Mantech. And we are working on that program. And we have improved it. Yield is improved considerably. We understand, we believe, as to how to make these pieces in the future. And we have orders from various contractors to the DoD, from the Navy, from the Air Force, etc., and a few pieces at a time we are able to do. Of course, when you can do such big pieces, you are able to do normal pieces like 12 by 12 quite routinely. And these are the kinds of things that we are excited about. But we know that as a business, we cannot just remain in those areas. So these materials also have application in other areas like semiconductor processing, where I started earlier. So I'm going back into the semiconductor processing, and they are in need of, as you know, for the Moore's law to continue, where you produce so much more processor for the lower cost. Every 2 years, you need to process the silicon into a much finer scale. And that requires materials with ultra high purity, also that doesn't react with the new processes they come up with, like fluorine, plasma, etc. So this material we are developing, I believe, have application in those areas. So we are looking to diversify our applications so that we truly continue to expand our commercialization success. So being awarded this Corporate Technical Achievement Award this year is a wonderful thing for us because it gets our name to the community at large, because American Ceramic Society is followed by all the industry in the ceramics field. And we, of course, are like the stealth company. We quietly do things. We don't have resources to make a lot of noise, but in addition, my personal philosophy always has been to under-promise and over-deliver. So this is an excellent recognition. It boosts the morale of all of us, our people, and it also brings to the attention of the industry that we are here. For yesterday, I was sitting next to this gentleman from SHORT, the president of SHORT North America. He was very interested. It just gives recognition. It drives us further to succeed, to be in the same league as other companies that have won this award in the past. For example, Corning with their Gorilla Glass. It's a great honor. It's a great recognition for us. We appreciate it. And it will drive us to achieve more.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, any final thoughts?
You said about material science.
Oh, yes.
Well, material science as a business is a very difficult proposition. There haven't been that many companies that have succeeded just on the materials alone. But that's what we are trying to do, and it's not material so much as I said, it's finding a solution to a problem that every industry faces, the next generation machines. If you want to have the Dreamliner and make it much lighter, you need the graphite epoxy kind. That's a new material. And to reliably trust in it and put it into service. It's not just science and technology. It is for a company to succeed, you got to have somebody who is, or a group of people who are understanding the balance between what you can do and what you cannot do, and how to meet the customer's expectation and exceed them. And even sometimes, like Steve Jobs used to think about, is to really tell the customer what they really need, because the customer themselves are not able to really understand in their pressure to somehow solve the problem that they're facing with a new material or a modified material. They miss the boat. So there you have to sit back. The company can guide the customer as well. So I would always emphasize that in any field, you need to be like a young teenage child who's anxious to play with others, has a team spirit, and is not worrying about who gets the credit, who is not saying, well, I get the credit, or I don't, nobody gives me credit. Play, enjoy, and you get paid at the same time. So this is how, when I worked at Gillette for 14 and a half years, it never occurred to me that somebody else was taking credit. So I find that this is a problem with finding right employees. So this is a big problem because people are not as generous. Maybe they don't like themselves, so they show it to others. I don't know. There is a problem, and it's not just, everybody will tell you that the people problem is the worst problem. And that is true in any organization. I wish we could be more relaxed, because good behavior elicits better behavior from others. If we are nice to others, they are nice to us. So those are things that I have learned, and I try to, and people are born with it sometimes, like Mohan is one guy who is very nice. He doesn't threaten anybody. Everybody likes his body language and they want to help him. That's what I have been, I believe. A lot of people have helped me. I wouldn't be here without their help. But I have allowed them to help me. I've made them help me, I believe, just like I am willing to help anybody in any field, anything that I can do. That is a key point in any organizational success. In fact, my wife has a car in which she has been having a plate for many years now that says, "Be kind." And soon after that, there was a snow and she fell into the ditch just slightly. And some guy was going by with a truck with a, he said, the sign was what he could see. So he came in and got her out of there. But I don't. Yeah, that's be kind is a nice.
Be kind, and I think for me at least, the other piece of it is to be cheerful.
Yes,
you know,
exactly. Yes.
On any given day, there's always reasons why, you know, you could complain. You know,
yes.
Having a bad hair day, or you come in and, you know, somebody, your computer caught a virus, or whatever, you know.
Yes, that's why the under-promise and over-deliver is similar to that, in the sense that always expect things not to go right. Have a baseline in which you're happy with everything not going right. That's been my approach. And you got to have patience. And people who expect everything to be perfect are disappointed so many times that they can't be happy. They have to change their thinking. They have to reset their expectation. And it's what makes all the difference in the world. We don't ever give up. I persist now. It's 31 years. If you asked me 31 years ago, in fact, my wife and I, when we were discussing, our oldest daughter was 10 years old. So I said, I have 4 or 5 years to succeed or not. Because she goes to college, I have to earn enough money. I have a chance to make it by that time in this company, or I can go get another job. So I was always prepared what would happen. Plan B was always there. And that's when you carry an umbrella, it doesn't usually rain. So that's the same thing happens here. So we are very persistent, patient. If you don't succeed, try and try again. That's what we have done. It's taken us a little longer, but this is a phenomenal task, difficult task, and most people wouldn't even attempt it.
I agree with that.
Yes.
But I also think that the small size of Surmet is a big advantage.
Yes.
Also,
yes,
you don't have the baggage. You're nimble. You're agile.
When I used to work at Gillette, I used to remember thinking to myself that was a huge company, the terrible morale. Terrible, you know, it's a very powerful company in the sense that we made a lot of money at a monopoly position, but nobody was happy at Gillette. So I used to say it's better to have 25 people company than have a 125 people company. So I agree with you that smallness helps a lot. I know people. I just visited our California facility. To be with our people there is electrifying for me as well as them. I could see that. It motivates me to go find more business for them. And they are really nice people, and they are at all levels. I mean, I don't hire anybody who can drive a car. I feel is capable of working in my company, because I have enough people with degrees that what we need is hands-on people who could be taught. Their attitude towards work and towards others is more important than what they know. As long as they are responsive, as long as they are there to please, want to do, want to learn. I have hired people from anywhere, some of the people, and we have taken care of, you know, that's why I don't understand much of the discussion going on in the world about, in our world here, USA, about small business and this, that, about healthcare, about minimum wage. No, we always had healthcare, we always had nobody in minimum wage. It's a disgrace to treat somebody and expect them to live with minimum wage or anything like that.
Right.
So we also train people. We have hired refugees. We have hired, of course, good people, regular people, but also we have taken people off the street and trained them. If they have the right attitude, they stick with us. And the division I sold, they still have some of those people that I used to hire like that. They're working out. So it's not just my thinking that these people are loyal, so I'll hire them. No, they're competent as well. So they are now working for a big company. And they wouldn't have them for a day if they thought they could save some money.
There you go.